So we are going live here. I am your host, George Miller. I am here almost every week of the year, and I am going live here on YouTube and on LinkedIn Live. And if you've joined in before, you know that I love it when you ask questions, and I like it when you jump in directly here on the Zoom link. Although you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can also type your questions into the comment section, and I will do my best to get to your questions that way. So you're welcome to ask any question career related. You don't have to try to stay on topic, talking about leadership and emotions and being an empathetic leader and what that means. But if you've got a question about your resume or interviewing or what you're doing in your career, what's your purpose, are you satisfied, anything like that, it's fair game. Anything that's on your heart, go ahead and type it into the comment section or jump in directly here on Zoom with me. I love talking to you that way as well. So I'm going to dive in because I am really excited about today's topic. It is something near and dear to me as somebody who comes from a fair amount of educators in my family. My grandparents were missionaries, both sets of them. And so I think there's kind of some education that gets tied in with that. My mother and sister are teachers, and I think that that requires a lot of empathy. And then a leader who is empathetic, how it's a superpower, but there can be some downfalls to it. So this topic is near and dear to me. And a reminder for anybody joining in, you don't have to try to stay on topic with your questions. Feel free to ask anything that comes to your mind, anything that you are questioning in your career, anything you want support with. Feel free to jump here in Zoom or type your questions into the comment section, and I will do my best to answer your questions that way. So I am talking about the hidden burnout of the empathetic leader. So one of my books I've referred to so many times is Resonant Leadership by Boyatzis McKee. So they describe resonant leadership as the ability to attune to others while maintaining self-awareness, and that enables the leader to have a renewal process. So empathy without renewal becomes an emotional contagion, and that can start to catch. That will stress in an organization, that will bring stress to your team rather than staying centered in your own consciousness. So again, it's this ability to attune, but not to lose myself. You don't want to lose yourself in somebody else. You want to be able to attune and see how you're similar and different. So you think about true resonance as oscillation. So there's connection and restoration, And leaders who don't oscillate will burn out. Leaders who don't know how to do more and more of the back and forth in the moment will lose themselves and then need a lot of extra time to recover. A number of people I have worked with over the years who would go to an event, to a conference, and they'd have to prepare a lot for that conference, and then they'd go and they'd be on and they'd do a good job, and they would make connections, and it was good. They did their job. And then after that, they would shut down. They would have to go into recovery mode for a long time, sometimes, several days. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I was burned out in that. And that's when being empathetic becomes a stress. But being empathetic, if I learn how to do it well, does not need to stress me out. In fact, it can even be energizing. So many people I've worked with now have learned that like, oh my gosh, I don't need a few days to recover after something anymore. I still need some recovery time, totally. But it's not like it used to be. And I don't have the same kind of dread that I used to have going to a conference. So this can be true for meetings. Great, let's break it down to what are the meetings that you have coming up that you notice you're like, oh, I kind of am dreading that. And then I feel like I need to kind of recover afterwards. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But we can get better. We can use our sense of dread or our fear to give us really valuable information about what I'm afraid of in that meeting and how to tend to myself and how to get my questions answered and or at least on the table so that I'm coming out of that meeting with more energy. And yeah, I may still want to take a break, recover, whatever, but can I get more nourishment in the interaction so that I don't need the same recovery time? That's what I'm holding out for you. So what I really like about what Boyatzis and McKee say is that there's this differentiation of being able to relate while also being aware of myself, of me having an internal locus of control while totally being able to relate to somebody else. So I'm not losing myself. I can oscillate between connection and restoration, even moment to moment in a conversation. Okay, so that's might be a far stretch, but I want you picturing that for yourself as we dig into the next thing here. So again, I invite anybody at any point in time to jump in and ask a question. Do know that this is being live streamed. Hey, welcome, Remy. Good to see you.
How are you doing?
Doing fantastic, man. Welcome.
I have 20 minutes. I just saw your post coming in. Just have 20 minutes before I have to jump to another call.
Oh, cool. Well, Remy, any questions that you have? Anything that's on your heart?
No, I just arriving now, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Fantastic. Well, one of the things, the way I operate is I'm sharing a topic, but I invite you and anybody who's viewing in to ask any questions at any time. Feel free to try to throw me off. I have fun with it. Great, Remy. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So the next point that I'm getting into about the hidden burnout of the empathetic leader is research drawing from David Snarch. I really like his definition of intimacy and how he uses the concept of differentiation. So again, we've got from Boyatzis and McKee this idea that the resonant leader is good at attuning, but knows how to connect and restore within themselves quickly. And I'm putting out that you don't necessarily need to do that after the meeting. You can look for ways to restore during a meeting. Look for ways to restore in an interaction. And when doing that, then you will find you don't need as much time to recover after a meeting or after a conference or whatever. So then this concept of differentiation. So burnout often comes not from caring too much. Whenever I hear somebody say, "Oh, I don't care anymore," what I hear them say is, "I care so much. And I just don't know how to keep on going caring so much. Caring so much hurts. And it's like I need a break from caring so much." So that is a key thing to look for. And to look at how am I fusing? That's something that David Snarch brings up, is how am I fusing emotionally with others' experiences? So again, I'm looking to connect and then also be aware of who I am and being able to go into myself to restore. So when we over-identify, our empathy loses its precision. This is true for anybody in any relationship.
Yeah.
And I think
so you are, the more difficult is actually to get your head clear about that, right?
Yes. And this happens so often with kids, with parents. because it's like your stuff that you're wanting your kid to work on for you instead of you handling it directly. So if we over-identify, we lose our precision. So a helpful way to think about this, you'll hear people say, oh, I really feel for you. If you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. My feelings are my feelings. I can't feel for you. So you might start tweaking that to saying like, oh, yeah, I really feel with you. I empathize. I get that. Yeah, I understand that. Because when I move into over-identifying, then I start thinking I need to fix it. And that becomes an issue, especially for the empathetic leader. Because as soon as I start thinking that I need to help somebody on my team fix it, well, now I begin micromanaging. And now I am disempowering. I am not trusting their creative intelligence. I am now saying, okay, I need to fix this. And there's a way that I'm trying to tend to myself indirectly through them. And now we're getting into enmeshment. And it does not foster effective work relationships to do that. So it's a really big deal to recognize that empathy, it's not the same as resonance, and that I am going, the chances that if I think of myself as an empathetic leader, there's a high probability that I've got enmeshment going on. And if I can assume that, then I can start to catch the ways that I'm doing it. Because again, we're talking about stuff that we're largely unconscious to. And so learning to look at this is going to require discomfort. So the work is to not close off, but to differentiate, to stay emotionally present without losing my sense of self. I want to be able to be separate while still in tune with someone. So I've been working on my way through a book from Dr. Tony Nader, Consciousness is All There Is. So I'm looking at how to apply some of this thinking to this concept of differentiation and how an empathetic leader can use consciousness. So from the lens that compassion doesn't mean absorbing others' pain. It means recognizing their experience as part of a shared field. But I want to be maintaining my awareness. What's my pain in this instance? That's different than somebody else's. Mm-hmm. But I can use this idea of a field of consciousness and say, okay, that's their cosmic slice of the pie. But I'm going to be in touch with my own discomfort. And this is so key. This is what so much of the leadership stuff that I do with people is I need to first be in touch with my fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy. I need to be in touch with my core feelings of discomfort. I need to have that in my body. I have to be willing to address that in myself.
Look at it directly in the eyes.
What's that, Remy?
And look at it directly in the eyes when you feel that discomfort coming to you. And sometimes you get into a situation where I use the term trigger. I don't know if that's the right term.
Yeah. Cool, trigger.
Yeah. I spoke with someone else, says you shouldn't say trigger because you're not a gun or something like that, but it still seems to feel that someone says something and suddenly there is some emotions coming into you and you realize that it's not because of them, it's because you are trying to, it triggers something in you that is maybe not related to that person. And then
yes.
you lose the sense of who is whom. What is my emotion? What is the other emotion? And you get all meshed up. And so when you get to that ability of, like I say, consciousness of being aware of, oh, something just happened and let me understand what is happening. So you can continue the conversation while still being conscious of what this is happening to you at the same time and take some distance and be able to respond instead of just reacting like that. Bam.
Yes. Yes, and that point of reaction that you just brought up, with the empathetic leader, what so often happens is the fix it mode. So the reaction can be, oh, I need to step in and help. I need to, and while there may be some help that it would be good, the tendency for the empathetic leader is that they're going to go too much, that they're going to be helping more than is really empowering to the person on their team.
Yeah,
And so
it's what I call the hero syndrome. You know, you just jump into, oh, let's help. Let me help you. And then you end up having all the monkeys from the in your own back, and you're trying to then fight the monkeys of the others instead of fighting your own monkeys.
Yes. Yeah, totally. So that's a thing to be looking for, and that expecting that burnout happens when I'm collapsing into identification with another's emotions instead of being in my own awareness, of myself. If I'm unwilling to do that with myself, if I'm unwilling to be present with my own fear, my own hurt, my own discomfort, then I will unconsciously seek to assuage myself through helping somebody else. Mm-hmm. So this is a huge thing with anybody who's a coach, a doctor, a nurse, any kind of helping profession, a teacher, and for anybody who's a manager or a boss leading your team, is to look at how you tend to other people in ways that do not really support their development. So sometimes the biggest way that you could support your own development in somebody else's is by being quiet and being with your own discomfort in that quiet, not zoning out. That's we were talking about that last week. There's a difference about that, because if I am suppressing my feelings, if I'm going into a meeting, it's like, oh, I'm pissed off, but I can't be angry here. And then I'm just shutting myself down. I'm leading to deadness. There's an issue with that. People will then perceive me as cold. People will perceive me as or they just won't even notice me. And that has an impact. That kind of shutdown has an impact in meetings. And so I actually have to be in touch with my anger. I have to understand that that's happening in me. And I might then be able to say, okay, this is anger that I'm feeling. 90% of it doesn't have anything to do with what's happening in this meeting right now. Oh, okay, but this 10% does. Oh, okay, well, I can use that as a way to have me say, oh, okay, I am kind of angry about, somebody said something here. I don't think they're understanding an important detail here. I'm going to make sure to say, hey, we need to make sure that we address this. You know, I didn't say I'm angry out loud, but I used that sensation, that feeling in my body to give me valuable information to speak up and do something about it. So that's the way that an empathetic leader needs to learn how to be aware of their own discomfort and how to use that effectively in meetings. And so another point that Boyatzis and McKee make about renewal is that it comes from having a purpose and being aligned. So if I'm working with my team and we don't have a vision, an objective that we're moving towards, the chances for me to be able to have renewal diminish greatly. Because and to Snarch's point, then it's so much easier for me to get enmeshed, to not understand that, wait, there's an objective out here. Oh yeah, we are different people and we're just aligned on the same goal. So that's an incredibly important thing that, as I have forgotten so many times when I'm starting a meeting, to set the agenda, to to say, oh, here's the objective of why we're meeting today. And I want to go about it in this kind of way. I want to have fun as we are making sure that we are handling this, and this. Just that, a quick thing like that really aligns your team and helps them understand where their differences can play out in a helpful way. So a helpful regular reflection to be asking yourself is, what am I here to serve? Who am I here to serve? What's the purpose? That what are the questions or anything that I'm saying in this meeting? How is that serving? And is this helping our agenda be realized?
I don't know if you got that, George, also, but I figure out sometimes people are so much into the day-to-day of what they're doing, they actually forgot the actual mission of the department or their activity. They might be a finance director or maybe a marketing director or salesman, but they forgot about what's the mission of them as a department.
Absolutely.
They're just driven by the urgency of what they are doing at the moment and forgetting the long perspective. I know you're saying about vision. I was thinking more about mission and purpose, but some kind is connected. But sometimes I work with people that they just totally forgot. They are just on this driven mode of urgency, firefighting. And when I say, okay, so what's the point of all of that? What's the point of your role in this company, in this department? Why actually your department exists as a per se? And when you start thinking about that, and you suddenly realize that, okay, I have a mission that is much more than just filling that report or running after this deadline. There is much more to me to create it as a value. And then when you connect that, then you can connect also your team together, and then you actually show up into those meetings in a different way, because you're not coming just to checklisting. You just go with some very clear purpose.
Yep. Remembering what the purpose is a really helpful tool. And I'll often have little sticky notes for myself to remember what my purpose is. This one I have up recently is just feel fear. Just notice the fear that is happening in my body. That sticky note is fallen off, and I probably need another one now. But yes, so anything that I can do to remind myself. So Remy, I know you've got to go soon. Is there anything in particular after being here for a little bit that you are working on? I know you're an executive coach, and I'd love to hear more about what you're doing, what you're up to, and what your cutting edge is.
Right. So I'm focusing more about somehow connected to what you're saying today is I'm working specifically with finance directors that want to spend more time with their kids. So basically, you realize that sometimes we are in a role that takes a lot of your day-to-day, and you're running as the one-man show, even if you have a team below. And then how you can empower your team. And so part of the thing that you're saying is about how you interact with people without taking their responsibility and maintaining the accountability, maintaining their engagement and capacity of thinking and having a critical mind, and helping to find solutions by themselves and helping them through that, instead of just giving solutions and just jumping in, solving the problems for them. And I came from this. I've been a finance director finance professional for 25 years, and I got what you're describing in terms of overload, emotional overload, and work overload. I got my dose of that, and I had to find some ways to start pushing back, rebalancing things. I'm very empathetic at the beginning, and it was very difficult for me not just to jump in and help people, but also giving feedback and bringing that emotional stability. And so finding my own balance inside of me, in my own roots and my own, I call that centering, allow me to just be able to say, okay, here's my boundaries, and this is where I can interact with you without letting those emotions get into me. I can still recognize there is emotions here. I can be creating a place for those emotions to be spoken and addressed without incorporating the emotions in myself. And that happens not just at a professional level, but it can happen also inside the family and friends and neighbors and everything like that. The boundaries is kind of an important aspect, especially on empathetic people that struggles to put those boundaries around them, right? Myself, I'm doing a kind of a proper, outside of my work, I'm doing my own personal growth, spiritual growth, reflection, and I'm very actually lucky to have my wife doing something similar at the same time as me. So we are in kind of a same path, and we help each other, and we recognize so when something is triggering us and from each other or from something else, and we can give ourselves space to say, what's happening here? What is triggering that into you? What is creating this? This morning I had a guy passing, there was someone trying to cross the street and was hesitating, and there was a guy just bang! And I realized that triggered me. The guy has nothing to do with me, or the lady that was crossing the street was nothing to do with me. When that comes to see, I usually say, I salute the divine in you, just to remember that the person is another son of God, and he can have his own reactions. It's not about me. But I had to think about what is the reason of that triggering something in me, and trying to understand and coming back to things in my past experience that are actually coming to the surface when that happens. And that happens all the time for everyone. I think the older you go, the more maybe aware you are of that. But you have to be able to get to know yourself better, so that you can interact better with the other people. And I think that's somehow, for me, the most important part. And when you say about this empathetic leader, this is what I see as a point. Center yourself first before you can help others. If you're trying to get someone out of the water and you're not holding to a tree or something, you're going to slip and fall in the water together. And so you have to hold yourself well before you can bring people out of the water. That'd be the same thing in emotions. I feel. I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm saying.
Does it make sense to you?
Oh, it makes totally sense for me.
And I think that's what counts.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Remy.
Yeah. But yeah, I have to jump. I have another call in 2 minutes. But George, thank you. I just caught your thing on the go, and I enjoy it. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for jumping in, Remy.
Have a great day.
Yes, you too. Have a good meeting. Cheers.
Yeah, bye.
So that's fantastic. So we've got, as I get better and better at understanding where what Remy was saying, the triggers come from, then the more clarity I have about what's going on in any given interaction in the here and now. So that is a wonderful practice, and it sounds like Remy's doing a really good job with it in his life, and using that to help people, financial advisors, essentially help their clients more by not taking on too much of the responsibility in a way that perhaps even creates an unnecessary dependence. So another point that I wanted to make here is that there's a difference between over-caring and clear compassion. So compassion is one of the things that one of my mentors, Bob Wright, mentioned to me, and whether it was personally or in a class, that I really stuck out. Is that even a word? Stood out. Was that the word compassion has passion inside of it. And we talk about wanting passion in our careers. we want a passionate marriage. And of course we do, but do we really even know what that means? And so passion, you think about the passion of Christ. There's a lot of pain in that. I mean, there's literally like death. So when thinking about the word compassion, do I have compassion with somebody else? It's not that requires me to be willing to really go to my pain, for me to even be able to die unto myself so that I can really be with somebody else. Now, there's so much that in what I just said that I'm not going to dig into now. But I want to drive home the point that the word compassion has a depth to it that I think we are used to having it be kind of light and fluffy. And the word compassion actually has a significant amount of pain and depth just in it. So clear compassion means bringing both heart and boundary to being caring with somebody. It's expressed as like, I can sense how much pain you've got, and I have that too. Like, I understand the pain. I don't understand exactly your situation. I might not get that perfectly. That maybe hasn't happened for me, but I get the pain of it. And I trust your capacity to deal with it. I trust that you are going to be able to work through this. So sustainable leaders model emotional maturity, showing that deep care and differentiation coexist. So we're already at the halfway point. Wow, I got through this one without looking at the time. I've been so on it. So there's a few ways that you can engage. I love it, of course, when you jump in directly. If you've got a question on your heart, something that you want to sort through, I invite you to jump on here in Zoom or type your questions into the comments section. I will do my best to respond that way as well. And you don't have to try to stay on topic. You don't have to try to come up with a question that has something to do with compassion and being an empathetic leader. Anything that's on your mind, go for it. You can type your questions into the comment section, and you can jump in directly here on Zoom. One of the tools that I like to use with people is the CARE personality assessment, something that was designed by Dr. Bob Wright many years ago when working with hairstylists. It's common to a lot of other personality assessments, but the focus of it is to help you understand the other people you're talking to, understand their personality styles and how you can shift your communication style to be more effective with them. So there's a quick assessment that you can check out there, as well as a video that will help guide you in assessing other people and learning to communicate with them more effectively. So go ahead and take a look at that. And reminder to check in with me. You can share any comments or questions in the comment section, and I would be more than excited to talk with you. So I'll start wrapping up here. I want to bring in this final point that I laid out, was that there's some ways that you can practice renewal, because renewing, if I'm not good at renewing as an empathetic leader, if that's not something I'm conscious of, though, then anticipating that and purposefully practicing it will make it more likely that I will do that in meetings, that I will do that with my staff. So intentional pauses. One of the micro renewal things you can begin practicing is an intentional pause. Just being conscious that you are pausing. So this resets your physiology. It literally does a reset. And then when you're knowing that you're doing, when you're doing it consciously, that gets into the mindfulness work of Ellen Langer. So you might pause in a meeting, and you might not really get anything out of that pause. But if you know that pause is nourishing, then, and you know it's resetting your system, you're going to get more out of that pause just by being mindful of it. So that's a micro renewal practice, is simply pausing, taking a micro pause, allowing a deeper breath to come in. And then another thing you can do is meta awareness, and that's meditation. There's all kinds of meditation. I like TM, or transcendental meditation. It is restorative. I've been practicing for a while. That's a meditation that I have found all kinds of wonderful benefits emerge from practicing transcendental meditation. But there's also prayer. Now, prayer is different than TM. Monks that were trained in TM say that they will do their meditation before prayer so that they can really go deep into their prayer practice. But that's another thing that you can do. So for meta awareness, another one I do is ice water. Just going into ice water and meditating in there. So there's different kinds of meditation that you can practice. These are ways that you re-anchor. To reference Dr. Tony Nader, is you're re-anchoring into awareness and doing integrity check-ins. Just being aware, assuming that I'm over-identifying and saying, you know what, I'm going to check after each meeting. I'm just going to take a note and say, where did I over-identify? As a coach, that's a thing that I use coaching supervision. I have my own coach, and I work through that. It's like, I'm over-identifying with this client. Okay, what are the values that I'm neglecting in over-identifying? Just to assume that I'm doing it, and if I will probably find some way that I can improve and not be as enmeshed. So I think that's another helpful thing. It's just doing an integrity check, just assuming that, I'm a human, flawed. I over-identify with people. For a lot of parents to just be like, especially these days, my parents were not helicopter pilot parents. Gen Xers and early millennials, our parents weren't there enough. That's the research shows that. But now the helicopter parent is so common with parents giving their kids what they never had. And there's all kinds of good things in that. It's not, you don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but to just assume that, I'm over-identifying, I'm enmeshed. Where are some ways that I can just be more conscious of that and let go? So those are some helpful ways of practicing renewal. Is a micro renewal, just a pause, maybe a deep breath, a meta awareness or meditating, practicing that, getting a regular practice in so that you are learning to re-anchor to yourself, and integrity checks, just looking at, where am I over-identifying? So I hope this is helpful to you. I am going to be signing off here in a minute. Unless anybody's got any questions, feel free to type them into the comment section, any questions, and I will stay on to help sort through those questions. Otherwise, I'll be signing off today, and I will see you next week. Again, George Miller here. I'm here almost every week, Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m., and I love taking questions from people. I facilitate 7 different groups now, and so I enjoy the spontaneity of whatever emerges and whatever questions come in. So keep that in mind for next week. You're joining in. Feel free to ask anything at any time. All right, everybody. Well, blessings, and reminder to you to practice renewal by pausing, resetting your system. And if you want to take it a step further, then block off time for yourself to meditate. And if you want to take it even further, schedule in little integrity checks for yourself after meetings. Just saying like, look for where I over-identified. All right, everybody, bless.